Hello and welcome to another episode of the Three Techs. If you've ever wondered how we're recording these shows, or if you've ever wanted to start your own podcast or radio show, we've got something for you. This is the RØDECaster Pro. It's an all-in-one podcasting solution designed by Rode based on customer feedback on how to more easily create better-sounding podcasts. It's well-constructed and can be portable for remote podcast recording. It has 4 microphone inputs with professional-sounding voice processing on every channel. It has a built-in mixer for connecting microphones, a USB player, smartphone, and Bluetooth device. Its headphone mixer is suitable for up to 4 guests. These 8 pads allow you to trigger playback of sound effects or pre-recorded audio tracks during your podcast. It has all this, plus an internal recorder with a giant record button that records to a micro SD card. You get this for the price of $599 US. They've also included Aphex processing on board, which features their Aural Exciter and Big Bottom to give you that radio voice sound. It's designed to get you up and running within minutes after plugging in your microphones and memory card. The RØDECaster Pro, all-in-one podcasting solution. So Bob, this is a really cool all-in-one device for podcasters and anybody who wants to just have high-quality audio recording in a single box. You don't need a computer to run it, and I'd like to walk through some of the voice effects and processing that you get on every channel here.
Okay.
So right now I have all of the effects turned on. I'm going to go ahead and press the 1 button here. And you'll see that it brings up a menu and you can change different options. If I tap microphone, Rode has different presets for its various microphones that it makes, such as the pod mic, which is a new microphone that's just coming out. I just have this AKG C414 condenser microphone here that I'm talking into, so I chose condenser. And what that really does is it allows me to apply what's called phantom power, because this microphone needs additional power in order to work properly. I'll go back, and then I'll go in to tap levels. Now here you can see as I talk that you can see this green meter moving up and down, and you can adjust your level with a minus and a plus sign here. And basically you want it to be in this little green range that they've conveniently highlighted on the screen. So you just turn it up or down until the levels are just bouncing around in that little area there. And you'll notice at the bottom of the screen, it also has this thing for phantom power. So this is where I would switch it on for a condenser microphone. It also has options for voice tone and strength. So for me, I went into tone, and you can choose from deep, and this is what deep sounds like. If I bump it up to medium, you can hear what medium sounds like there, a little bit of a change there. And this is high. So if you have high or you prefer this sound for your voice, you could change these various settings. So again, this is high. I'll go back down to medium, and this is medium still. And then I'm going to go back down to deep, which is what I chose for my voice. And everybody has their own preference for how they like to hear their voice sound. This is just what I settled on after a little bit of playing around. Now, if I jump into voice strength, you can see there's 3 different options here as well. So the first option here is soft. I actually have it set to strong, but let me go ahead and change it. We'll go down the chain again, and you'll be able to hear the difference. So again, this is currently set to strong. I'm going to change it to medium, and you can hear maybe a little bit of difference on how it sounds on medium. And let's go ahead and switch it down to soft. So I think if you can listen carefully, you might be able to hear how people with softer voices, it seems to be emphasizing the sibilance.
It's bringing you more forward.
It is. Yeah. So if you're a soft speaker or you have guests who are soft speakers, you can adjust the settings here. So again, this is soft. I'm going to go back up to medium. Medium here is, again, what we're listening to now. And finally, I'm going to bring it back up to strong, which is, again, what I chose as the default. Do you hear those differences, Bob?
Oh yeah, the contrast. I think you should record yourself on medium for a while and see what you think. But it really made a major difference in the sound of your voice. You know, if someone has a higher voice or someone projects a lot, you can compensate for that voice very nicely with a couple of clicks of a button. That's a cool feature.
Yeah, it's super simple. As you can see, there's no dials or knobs that you have to turn like there are with traditional professional audio equipment when it comes to these effects. It's just an on or an off, or you choose from 3 options. So they made it really easy for you to do that. All right, let's go ahead and jump into some of the funner stuff here under advanced.
Toys.
Okay, now on the screen, you can see there's a bunch of options here. First of all, you've got the compressor, you've got a de-esser, you've got ducking, you've got a high-pass filter, noise gate. They've also included a built-in Aphex voice processor. So they've included the Aural Exciter and the Big Bottom processor. So those two are frequently used on radio broadcasts. So if you're used to hearing people's voices there, that's why they've included them here, because people always ask, how do I get that radio voice sound? So this helps you with that. Okay, let's go ahead. I'm going to start turning these off, and we'll go through each one individually so you can hear the individual effect that it has on the overall sound of my voice. So this is with all the effects off now. I've turned off the compressor, I've turned off everything, and this is just the raw input into the RØDECaster on what it sounds like.
You're flat.
I'm pretty flat now. I know.
Yeah, you're flat.
No, very little character to the voice.
Yeah.
It's really just the microphone here and how that sounds going into the RØDECaster Pro. Let's go ahead and turn these back on one by one, and we'll talk about what they do. So the compressor, what I just turned it on, and what this does is it makes the quieter parts of what I'm saying louder, and it makes the louder parts softer, so it makes a much more even tone across the entire recording of what I'm saying. So that's what the compressor is for, and again, it's just a simple on-off switch. Normally there's a lot more settings that you could do with the compressor, but it's just the simple on-off switch here. So the de-esser, let's turn off the compressor so we'll hear it flat again, and then let's turn on the de-esser. So for this demo, I thought that it would be best demonstrated with a little tongue twister. So let me turn off the de-esser again, and I'm going to do a little tongue twister here for you that will demonstrate the sibilance. She sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells are surely seashells. So if she sells shells on the seashore, I'm sure she sells seashore shells. De-esser on. She sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells are surely seashells. So if she sells shells on the seashore, I'm sure she sells seashore shells. Did you hear that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's not like bang, hit you in the face, but it's like, oh, that's better. It's cleaner.
Yeah.
It takes away that.
It just takes away that sibilance and that harshness of what you're saying. So the de-esser is pretty useful for that, because our human ears are very sensitive to that particular frequency of S's and T's, and it sounds really bad if it's overemphasized.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, that's the de-esser. Let's turn that back off, and let's do the high pass filter.
Okay.
And I've got another little tongue twister for this, right? Do you want to hear about Peter Piper, Bob, or Betty Botter?
Let's try Peter.
Peter? Okay.
All right.
Well, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Did Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled peppers? If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? All right, that's no high pass filter. Let's turn it on. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Did Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled peppers? If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked?
I guess you don't need a pop filter.
Yeah. So we should explain maybe what high pass filter means. So basically, high pass means it's allowing all the higher frequencies of the sound to pass through, and the lower frequencies, which is what the P's and the B's tend to generate, like that burst of air that sounds like a low frequency burst. So that's what people use pop filters for generally, but the high pass filter can also help with that and remove some of that rumble. Yeah, Bob, you've got...
Yeah, low tech.
Bob's got a pop filter in front of his mic. The next feature is the noise gate, which I think we've already demonstrated. So I'll be silent for a few seconds and you'll be able to hear some of the background noise in the room. Okay, and by the way, this works better if you're listening to this on headphones. So I'm going to turn the noise gate on. Do you hear that?
What am I missing?
Did you hear the noise before, the background noise?
There's a computer fan noise.
Yeah.
With it off.
What the noise gate does is it quickly opens and closes and mutes the microphone when I'm not talking. But you might notice that when I am talking, if you listen carefully, you still might be able to hear that fan noise in the background. So it doesn't totally eliminate the fan noise. It just eliminates it when I'm not talking, and it just mutes and unmutes very, very quickly. If you find that you're not getting good results with the noise gate, it could be because you're too far away from your microphone or you haven't adjusted your microphone input level appropriately. It's not loud enough to activate the gate to allow the sound to go through. Let's now turn the noise gate back off and let's explore the Aphex Aural Exciter. As the name suggests, it's supposed to excite your voice, right? Let's see what it does. Okay, this is without the Aural Exciter, and let's turn the Aural Exciter on and see if you can hear a difference there, Bob, in how my voice sounds with the Aural Exciter. Did you hear anything there?
A little bit, not a lot.
Okay, listen to the upper range. Okay. This is again with the Aural Exciter, and then when I turn it off, you can hear that this is without the Aural Exciter, and then now let me turn the Aural Exciter back on, and now you can hear it with the Aural Exciter.
Yeah, it brings that range up. I'm not using my good headphones tonight. I got a different pair on, and so I'm handicapped.
Gotcha. No worries. All right, so that's the Aural Exciter. Let's turn that back off again. This is, again, flat. And let's talk about big bottoms, Bob.
No, let's don't.
Well, let's talk about the Aphex Big Bottom. So,
okay, Aphex, yes.
Aphex Big Bottom. This is if you want to extend the deep range of your voice. So this is, again, without the big bottom. And let me turn the big bottom on right there. And I don't know if you hear a difference there with the big bottom, but hopefully it
huge.
Would have extended the lower range of my voice a little bit so you could hear it a lot deeper. And let me switch it off again, and you can hear this is without the big bottom and how that sounds.
That's a big effect.
I think it is. So what I've done now is I've switched everything back on again, and you can hear this is how it started at the beginning of the show. They also have this convenient processing switch, which basically flips all of the processing on or off. So I'm going to go ahead and flip that, and you'll be able to hear what difference it makes when I have everything on and when I have everything off. So this is everything off, and now this is with everything back on again. Pretty big difference.
Huge, yeah.
Well, that is a pretty in-depth walkthrough of all of the individual effects that you have on all 4 microphone channels. Now, I should also mention that some of those are also available on the USB, the smartphone, and the Bluetooth input. Let's just take a quick look at that. So if I go into USB, which is what Bob is coming through right now,
right?
You can set it up for none as far as presets, no presets, speech, or music. I currently have it set up for speech, and if I tap on the advanced button here, you can see that I have some of the features that I had before with the microphone input, but not all of them. So I have compressor, de-esser, high-pass filter, then I have the 2 Aphex processing like Aural Exciter as well as the big bottom.
Okay, so you can get pretty darn close to the same effect then coming in through USB as you can from a local microphone.
Yeah, you can.
That's good.
Really, the only things missing here are the noise gate and the ducking, right?
Okay. Well, but the ducking is only for the master for channel 1, right?
I see it on all 4 channels now.
Oh, okay.
So it's available on 1, 2, 3, and 4. Any of those 4 channels could trigger the ducking effect and make the other channels lower in volume that don't have ducking turned on.
And the thing I notice is once you've gotten familiar with it, you can just dance right through that. Boom, it's real easy to operate.
It is really easy to operate with the touchscreen here. And really, once you get it set up the way you like it, you don't really have to change anything. Switch it on and hit record, and you're ready to go. So there are some other options here which we can just briefly talk about. If we look at the sounds, you can see that in this screen, you can actually record a sound off of a microphone, the USB, a smartphone, over Bluetooth. You can record that directly into the trigger pad. And I mentioned the other way of doing it was through your computer connected to USB. You could drag an audio file over to it and load a sound onto one of those pads. The other thing you can do here is configure some of the hardware options. Under Advanced, this is where you might want to go if you're looking at doing multi-track recording, because in here there's some new options to allow you to bypass audio processing for the multi-track audio. So if you don't want any of that noise gate compression, de-essing applied to your sound on the multi-track recording, you can turn that off here. Some people like to do that because they like to do their own effects in post-editing.
There's another volume control over there on the top. There's that one all the way on the right-hand side there. What's that little volume control? There's 4 individual headphones, but what's that other little volume control do?
Yeah, that's a good question. So this 5th volume controller knob up here, you can see that it's got a little speaker icon next to it. And what that does is it allows you to output to a stereo mix. And what you could do there is if you're doing a live podcast, for example, or a panel discussion on a stage, you could output that sound to the PA system in the room.
Okay. Oh, that's wonderful. We didn't talk about the little red and green buttons at the bottom of all those sliders down there. So can you kind of tell me what those do exactly?
The green and red buttons down here are solo and mute buttons respectively. So green is solo, red is mute. So for example, if I keep talking and I press the red mute button,
you're gone. Hello.
Right. So that's the mute button.
Yeah.
The solo button, if you press that, what that does is it allows the engineer plugged into the front of the RØDECaster Pro with those headphones to hear just the soloed channel. So this is good for, fine-tuning the sound settings. If you've got, 4 people in a room all talking at the same time, it might be hard to adjust just one person's microphone. So I could solo, for example, my own channel, and then I could play with my settings on my own and just hear myself in the headphones. That's what solo does. It's sort of the opposite of mute because it mutes all the other channels.
Yeah,
except
that's
for
really nice.
that one.
Yeah.
But it doesn't actually affect the recording. That's important to note. So you could keep recording, and even though you're soloing a channel, everything that's unmuted is still being recorded to the recording.
Okay. What kind of format is that SD card? What's the audio file that it's creating?
Yeah, the audio file on the micro SD card is a stereo wave file. So it's named with a .wave file extension. It's 24-bit and 48 kilohertz sampling rate.
Okay, that's decent. I like that.
And you do need to take out the card to access any of the recorded files on the RØDECaster Pro because just by connecting through USB doesn't allow your computer to access any of those recordings.
Overall, I just there's so much that this thing can do to simplify when you're making recordings in the studio, and we've got all 3 of us hooked up with microphones and stuff. This takes that extra bit of worry away. You have, again, another copy, another local recording going on, and I think that's great.
Absolutely. It does simplify the recording process for us. It simplifies bringing in remote participants because we can easily patch those in through USB on the computer or hooking up a smartphone through a wired connection like a headphone jack connection or through Bluetooth. Another thing I'd want to mention is that Rode did say that they're going to bring multi-track recording to the built-in card. So you don't need a computer to do multi-track recording in the future. You can just, when you hit that red record button, it'll record both stereo and multi-track files directly to the built-in SD card.
It gets that kit down by quite a bit and improves your independence. So I like that. That's a really good thing.
So hopefully you like that behind-the-scenes look at how we do our recording here on the 3 Techs for these remote podcasts and YouTube videos. hopefully this also inspires you to take a closer look and think about maybe starting your own podcast show or radio show. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and click that bell button for notifications when we come out with new episodes. Let us know in the comments what you thought about this, and see you next time on the 3 Techs.